You might have had the realization in your life that something is holding you back from living your fullest potential. And oftentimes, this is actually related to your limiting beliefs. Because when you're holding on to limiting beliefs, you're not able to move forward and live an empowered life. So in today's video, I want to talk with you all about the neuroscience of limiting beliefs and how to break them. I want to give you a couple of examples of limiting beliefs. I want to give you the neuroscience of what is happening up here when you are experiencing limiting beliefs. And I also want to share, obviously, a step-by-step process on how you can break your limiting beliefs. So I would say we have a lot of things to talk about today, so let's get started. Hi, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Arndt, and I'm a peak performance coach and stress management trainer, and I'm really excited to talk with you today about everything limiting beliefs. And I would say, since we have a lot of things to chat about, let's start really simply with the definition of limiting beliefs. A limiting belief is a thought or statement that we believe to be the truth. You would usually start a phrase by saying, I am, or I have, or I am not enough. And that brings me to the next piece that I want to share with you, because in order to understand what limiting beliefs are, because maybe this is the very first time that you're hearing about limiting beliefs, let's look at a couple of different examples. Limiting beliefs can be, for example, I don't have power over my calendar. I have not enough time in the day to get everything done. I am not good enough for, insert anything you can think of. I have always been this way. I'm too old to start, insert anything you can think of. People won't like the real me. Girls, boys are not good at sports. Change is too hard. I can't figure this out on my own. Or I don't have time for self-care. Can you relate to any of these limiting beliefs? I'm sure you can, because all of us are holding limiting beliefs in some sort of form. But fear not, because this is why we're talking today, because you can actually overcome limiting beliefs and you can create new powerful ones. And in order to understand how you can do that, I want to first of all talk with you about the neuroscience of limiting beliefs and what is happening in your brain when you're thinking a certain thing. So limiting beliefs usually come from your childhood, how you were brought up, how your parents were thinking about themselves and other people. It could also be that you were really strongly influenced by your grandparents, or by your brothers and sisters, or by your school teacher. It doesn't really matter, but we all have certain experiences in our lives and they shape who we are today. And what is happening when we are young is that all of the things that we are hearing is usually going directly into our subconscious mind. What does it mean? It means that we're not really questioning what people are telling us. We just believe that everything in our world at that time and age is the truth. And only later on you will learn to judge actually those statements and to form your own opinion about things and if they are true or not true. But as a child, you don't have that. You don't have that judgment. And so everything that you hear is your belief system. That's really important to understand, first of all. So now you probably wonder, how can I overcome that? How can I change these limiting beliefs that I took for granted for 10, 15, 20, 30, 40, 50 years of my life? And the simple answer is you need to change the wires in your brain. And I want to talk with you a little bit about how you can do that. One powerful way of how you can look at that is the following. When you're walking through a wheat field, for the very first time, and nobody has ever walked through that field before, there's no path. So you have to kind of bushwhack through the wheat field in order to find your own path. And sometimes that's pretty difficult, right? But the next day, when you're walking through that field again, it's going to be already a little bit easier because there is already somewhat of a path that you have started to shape. And every time you're walking this path again and again and again, will it be easier to walk this path? And will it be easier to find that path as well? And that's exactly what is happening with limiting beliefs as well. You have deep grooves in your brain, and when you've been thinking or doing something for a really long period of time, then you have basically a highway that you're going down every single time. Because this is just how your brain learned to be you. And in order to change that limiting belief, or just changing that belief in general, you need to create a new street, a new highway. And that is exactly why I was just telling you about this path as well, about this wheat field, because at the beginning when you're walking down a new path, there is no path. And so it takes a little bit more effort and strength in order to do that, but it is absolutely not impossible. There's a lot of neuroscience that shows us today that it is absolutely possible to change your belief system and to create new, more powerful and new helpful beliefs in your life in order to feel more empowered and live a life that you love. But you have to do some work, and that's exactly what we're going to talk about in the next section. When you want to start changing your limiting beliefs, you first of all obviously need to create awareness that there is a limiting belief. If you don't know that there is a limiting belief, then there's obviously nothing that you can do. So the first most important step is actually to identify what your limiting belief is. And that's why we're talking about all of these different things, because once you learn that limiting beliefs are holding you back, but it is something that has been wired in your brain, you understand, hey, okay, so now I understand that overall process, which is kind of that awareness, and now we are going even deeper into it by identifying what your limiting belief actually is. And so I already gave you a couple of different examples of limiting beliefs. So let's use a really simple one, which is I don't have the power over my calendar, because this is something that I talk a lot with my peak performers about as we are trying to work on their time management. So let's use that as a perfect example for a limiting belief that you can break. Once you have identified that limiting belief, it can be really powerful and helpful to sit down, write down your limiting belief, and then take a moment to think about, okay, so there's this limiting belief, and what would be a more helpful belief to replace this with? For example, I have the power over my calendar. I have the power over my time. This is really, really important, because here's the next thing. When you're holding on to a limiting belief, then you are not only thinking that way, but you're also feeling that certain way, right? How does it feel, for example, to feel that you don't have power over your calendar? It doesn't feel really good, right? But then what kind of actions and behaviors and experiences do you have because you're holding on to this limiting belief? You're probably letting everyone walk over you, and everyone is taking your time from your calendar, and you really feel like you don't have power over that calendar, and you're recreating that experience over and over and over again. And that's obviously what we're trying to change. And so now with that new belief system, you also create new experiences, new actions, new behaviors, and new feelings. So now imagine you have power over your calendar. How would that make you feel? Probably a lot better, right? Maybe a little bit scary as well at the start, because it is a lot of power to have over your time and calendar, but it is also really empowering feeling, right? Because now you can decide how you're going to change your time and how you're going to manage your time on a day-to-day basis. And that will really help you change how you act, how you react to people's requests, how you're managing your time effectively on a day-to-day basis. And that will create a new experience. And all of these different steps are necessary in order to build that new highway in your brain. And so the next step is obviously to write it down, to write down that new belief and start to integrate it into your day-to-day. There's a couple of different ways that I find really powerful to do. First of all, I think it is really powerful to write it everywhere where you can see it. Write it on a piece of paper, write it on your bathroom mirror, write it on another piece of paper and put it on your fridge. This is all part of the process of rewiring your brain, and it's really, really powerful. So that is the first thing. And then the other thing is also obviously to think about what kind of actions can you take that will reflect that belief. So for example, if you believe that you have power over your calendar, what would a person do? How would a person act when they believe that they have power over their calendar? They would, for example, put aside 20 minutes every morning and every evening to actively manage their calendar. Or they would, for example, start to set better boundaries. We are obviously not talking in this video about how to manage your time or how to set boundaries, but you can check out all the different videos on my YouTube channel that talk about these specific topics. Today, we're really talking about how to break it. And if you want to learn more actions on what people are doing that are effectively managing your time, it might be helpful to watch these videos. Now we're really talking about how to build that process of switching from a limiting belief to a more empowering belief. You identify your limiting belief, you write down a new, more empowering belief, and then you start to take action. And all of these different things will help you to basically break through that limiting belief and create a new one. What is really important to say is that this is a process. It takes time to obviously build a new highway, right? Imagine your brain is already wired in a way that it's always going down this highway because it's an automated process. It's something that has become supernatural to you and has become your identity, and now you have to switch that, and that obviously requires some effort. And that brings me to the next question that people always ask me, which is, how long does it take to break a limiting belief? This is a really powerful question because there's no right or wrong answer. Even if you are looking it up on Google and you're searching for how long does it take to break a limiting belief or to build a new habit, resources might say it takes 21 minutes, 28 days, 51 days, 300 days, whatever. There's all different kinds of numbers that are floating around on the web. But the simple answer is it depends on how often you are repeating this new pattern. Because only if you are repeating it over and over and over again will you create that new path in your brain. And as I said before, it can be super difficult, and that's why I want to talk with you a little bit about why are we all experiencing resistance? Why is change uncomfortable? Really powerful question as well, and hopefully I have a really good answer for you on this one as well. It's because our brain doesn't really like change. Our brain likes to be in the safe state, and our brain does not know the difference between what is good for us and what is bad for us. Our brains only know what we have been repeatedly doing over and over and over and over again, okay? So at the beginning, totally normal that you're feeling uncomfortable. Let's say, for example, you're trying to build a new habit and a new belief that you are an athlete and that you can go to the gym 5 times a week. At the beginning, when you're starting to take that action to go to the gym on a regular basis, you might all of a sudden hear that little inside voice in your head that tells you, we really can't go to the gym today. It's raining outside and we feel a little bit tired and there's something else to do in the household. And you will come up with the most interesting reasons of why you shouldn't be going to the gym today. And you have to break through that. It is really important that you recognize that that inside voice will come up because it is what feels safe for your brain. But now you know with watching this video that you actually need some time in order to break through that. You need to break through that resistance. We are all experiencing that resistance as we are building new habits. And now that you know that, you can be your best self and still move forward. And that's really important. It is really important that you're taking action and that you are not being discouraged by that inside voice or maybe even sometimes failure. Because again, because you're learning something new, it might take some time to establish. So there's only 2 more things that I want to share with you. First of all, I want to answer the question, what else can you do to break your limiting beliefs? And there's a couple of different ways. Meditation is really powerful to break your limiting beliefs because what does meditation do? Exactly, it helps you to access your subconscious mind. It actually reduces the brain waves and the brain frequency in your brain in order to easier access what you have been holding on to for a very long period of time. Meditation, very powerful tool. Number 2, hypnotherapy. Hypnotherapy does the exact same thing. Hypnosis helps you to access your subconscious mind. And then finally, of course, therapy or coaching can also help you to break through limiting beliefs, because what a therapist or coach can do is to point out to you when you're holding on to a limiting belief, when you have in fact a limiting belief, because we're usually not aware of our limiting beliefs except if we're doing a lot of work on ourselves. And that's what we're doing here. That's why we're sitting here together and we're talking about this. And finally, what I wanted to do with you today is I wanted to share 2 books with you as well for further reading, because I think this is a really cool topic, and if you are interested about this topic as much as I am, I wanted to make sure that I am sharing 2 books with you. The first book is the book from Joe Dispenza called Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself, and I absolutely love this book. If you know me, you know I oftentimes refer to this in my podcast and also in my YouTube videos because it's just an incredible book. And then the second book that I find also really helpful when we are talking about building new habits and breaking through limiting beliefs is the book Atomic Habits by James Clear. And I just actually did a book review about this book on my YouTube channel, so if you're curious about it, make sure to check that one out as well. And that's all I wanted to share with you today. Thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions for me, don't hesitate to leave me a comment down below and let me know what is one of the limiting beliefs that you are trying to work through right now. Because here's the next thing. Accountability is really, really big when you're trying to build new habits and new limiting beliefs. Give me a thumbs up if you liked this video, and I really hope to see you in the next one.